He made the world laugh. For decades, Kevin Hart was one of the most successful comedians on the planet. His energy was infectious. His work ethic was legendary. He sold out arenas. He starred in blockbuster movies. He was the guy who never stopped, the man who kept going no matter what. And then, in 2019, everything came crashing down. Not because of one mistake, but because of years of choices finally catching up with him. This is the story of a comedy superstar who built an empire on relentless work, only to discover that relentless work can destroy you if you're not paying attention to what matters most. This is Kevin Hart, the collapse behind the laughs. Kevin Hart's rise was meteoric. From stand-up clubs to sold-out arenas to Hollywood movies, he built an empire through sheer determination and an almost inhuman work ethic. He was everywhere, every comedy special, every movie, every tour, every endorsement. Kevin wasn't just working, he was consuming the work. He was obsessed with being the hardest worker in the room. The narrative was inspirational. A guy from Philadelphia making it big through hustle. A man who refused to take no for an answer. A comedian who understood that success requires sacrifice. And for a while, it was working. The money was pouring in. The accolades were stacking up. The world was laughing. Kevin was winning. But here's what nobody was talking about. What was he sacrificing? What was he giving up? What was being neglected while he was building this empire? The answer, we would later learn, was everything that actually mattered. In 2017, there were hints of trouble. Allegations surfaced about infidelity. Kevin issued apologies. He talked about making mistakes, but he didn't slow down. He didn't pause. He didn't take real time to address what was happening in his personal life. Instead, he kept working. He kept grinding. He kept moving forward like the problems didn't exist. This is the trap of workaholism. You can convince yourself that productivity is progress. You can tell yourself that making money means you're winning. You can believe that if you just keep working, everything else will fall into place. But it won't. Life doesn't work that way. Relationships don't work that way. Family doesn't work that way. Kevin was building an empire while his personal life was crumbling. He was getting richer while becoming poorer in the things that actually matter. Trust, integrity, authenticity, connection. The cracks were forming, and instead of addressing them, he covered them up with more work, more comedy, more hustle. Then came January 2019. A video surfaced, old sexual messages, infidelity accusations. Suddenly, the carefully constructed image of the hardworking family man shattered. Kevin was scheduled to host the Academy Awards. He withdrew, he apologized, he acknowledged his mistakes, but the damage was done. What made this particularly painful was that it wasn't a one-time mistake. It was evidence of a pattern. It was proof that while Kevin was telling the world he had it all figured out, while he was presenting himself as a role model of success, his personal life was a mess. He'd been cheating, he'd been lying, he'd been living a double life while millions of people admired him and believed in him. This is the real collapse, not the public backlash, though that was severe, but the collapse of the narrative. The revelation that all the work, all the success, all the money hadn't made him happy or honest or good. It had just made him wealthy while being miserable. Kevin Hart's story is a perfect example of what toxic hustle culture does to people. It tells you that working harder is always the answer, that sleep is weakness, that relationships are secondary to ambition, that success at any cost is worth it. Kevin bought into this completely. He became the poster child for it, and it destroyed his marriage, damaged his reputation, and nearly ended his career. What Kevin didn't understand, or refused to understand, is that you can't outwork your problems. You can't hustle your way into a healthy relationship. You can't make money fast enough to fix a broken family. You can't earn enough success to replace integrity. These things require presence. They require attention. They require sacrifice of the work, not addition to it. The irony is that Kevin was celebrated for his work ethic. He was praised for his grind. He was held up as an example of what it takes to make it. But what everyone was celebrating was actually the beginning of his downfall. He was being rewarded for the very behavior that was destroying him. The 2019 scandal was Kevin's wake-up call. For For the first time, he couldn't work his way out of a problem. He couldn't make a joke about it and move on. He couldn't schedule his way to forgiveness. He had to actually stop, actually face what he'd done, actually take responsibility. In the months and years following the incident, Kevin did something different. He got therapy. He worked on his marriage. He took time away from the relentless grind. He spoke publicly about his mistakes and his growth. He acknowledged that he'd been wrong, not just about the infidelity, but about the entire approach to life that had led to the infidelity. This was real change. Not the performative kind, not the kind where you apologize and move on, but the kind where you actually examine yourself and make different choices going forward. It took a collapse for Kevin to realize that he'd been building the wrong empire all along. What Kevin Hart's story teaches us is that success without balance is actually failure. That achievement without integrity is meaningless. That making money while destroying your relationships is the definition of losing. The collapse didn't make Kevin irrelevant. If anything, it made him more relevant because it exposed a truth that our culture desperately needs to hear. We celebrate people who work all the time. We praise hustle and grind and relentless ambition, but we rarely talk about the cost. We rarely acknowledge what's being sacrificed. We rarely ask, at what point does ambition become obsession? At what point does hard work become self-destruction? Kevin had everything: money, fame, success, adoration, and he was miserable. His marriage was failing, his integrity was compromised, his soul was empty, and he was doing it all while making people laugh, while appearing to have it figured out, while being held up as an example of how to win. So, what can we learn from Kevin Hart's collapse? It's this: real success includes your family. Real winning includes your character. Real achievement includes your integrity. You can have money and fame and accolades, but if you've sacrificed the people you love and the person you are, you haven't won anything. You've just traded your life for a paycheck. Kevin's greatest contribution might not be his comedy. It might be his willingness to be vulnerable about his failures, to admit that he prioritized the wrong things, to show that even when you're winning by every external measure, you can be losing where it matters most. The collapse behind the laughs wasn't just about Kevin Hart. It's about all of us. It's about a culture that values productivity over presence, ambition over authenticity, success over soul. Kevin's story is a call to examine our own choices. What are we building? What are we sacrificing? And most importantly, when we reach the top and look around, will we actually be happy? This is Kevin Hart's story. A man who had everything and discovered it wasn't enough. Not because he had too much, but because he was missing what actually mattered. His collapse was public and painful, but it was also necessary. It forced him to stop. It forced him to look inward. It forced him to rebuild not his career but his character. And that's a victory greater than any sold-out arena or box office hit could ever be.